Hello everyone, welcome to Oliveboard. I hope all of you are good and your exam was great. So today we are here with the analysis of the IBPS SO IT Officer mains exam, which was held on 30th of January. So here we have recollected almost all the questions. So you will get a fair idea of what kind of questions were asked in the exam, so that for the aspirants who are yet to appear for the exam, they can prepare themselves from what kind of questions are asked in this exam. And for those people who have appeared for this particular paper on 30th January, they can check that how many of the questions they have answered correctly. So this is a collection of all the memory based questions, almost all the memory based questions. So here I think we have 56 questions that were asked, so we'll be discussing on those. So I can give you the idea of what kind of questions are asked from this. Okay, so let's move on to the question part. All right, so the first question was regarding the port number 25. Now, as all of us know that the port number 25, so the question was that the port number 25 is reserved for which of the following. And as we know from what we have studied, this port number 25 is reserved for the simple mail transfer protocol, which is what? SMTP. So this was the answer to this question. I hope you all have answered it correctly. So let's move on to the next question. What was the next question? So the next question was, there was a conversion that was asked. So that was A plus B multiplied by C divided by E minus F. This was the thing that was given to you. Now you had to convert it to what? To postfix. So I hope you all have answered it correctly. So what we do in the infix to postfix conversion, what we do is we take all the keys that are before the root node, and first you have to prepare that tree. Okay, then all the keys that are before the root node, that becomes a part of the left subtree, and all that are after the root node, they become the part of the right subtree. So recursively you have to repeat this process and you will get the postfix of this one, the post order of this one. So that is how we had to solve it. So I hope you all have done it correctly. So when we solve it by the tree method, by the method that we have discussed in the class, so it is going to be A, B, C, then the operator will come, after that E will come, then this divide will come, and then plus, F, and minus. This will be the order of your postfix. So this is the postfix notation or post order notation. So you can check with your answers. I believe you were able to answer it correctly. All right, now let's see what is the next question that we have in the exam. So which of the following is not a CSS? So this was your next question. So as we can look in the options, we are aware that we have the inline CSS that is there, right? So inline CSS we all have heard of. Then the external CSS also we have heard of. Then so such questions we can just directly eliminate. What all we know is a CSS. So inline is a CSS, we are aware. External CSS is there, we are aware. Internal CSS is there, we are aware of that as well. External is there, internal is there. And what about this embedded CSS? So we are aware that embedded CSS is also there. So it is the one when you place your CSS into any HTML code using the style element. Okay, so that is what we call as the embedded CSS. So we have all these CSS, but there is no such thing as online CSS. So that is the reason this is the one that you have to choose as the odd one here. So which of the following is not a CSS? It is online CSS. I hope you all have answered it correctly. Now, there was a question that which of the following is an example of no SQL? So no SQL, as we know about it, what is it? So in this, it is also called as the non-relational database. It is non-relational database. So this no SQL, it sometimes we also call it as non-SQL, and sometimes we also call it as not only SQL. So that's the way of pronouncing, that's the way of expressing it. But the options which were non-relational, that you had to choose. Since we do not have the exact options, so we cannot tell that what were the options and what was the right answer from that. But the one that was not a relational database, what is a relational database? What do we know about the relational database? So the relational database is the one where what exactly we do? We store the things in the form of tables, right? So we have talked about the relational database. The columns of it, the columns of the table, they represent the attributes of the data, and each record has a value for each attribute. So there is it is very easy to establish any sort of relationship between these. So that is why we call it a relational database. So it stores all of these things in the form of table. Okay, now let's see what was the next question. So the next question was a numerical on the shortest remaining time first and the round robin algorithm. Now we have discussed in detail about the shortest remaining time first and the round robin algorithm in the course. So SRTF is what? SRTF is just the preemptive version of shortest job first. So what we do in the shortest job first is we pick in the option of whatever, see, we are given the input queue, whatever the string is given to us, input whatever the input queue is given to us. So what we do, we take the job which requires the shortest time to be to complete its execution. Now let's say at 0 point of time I was having this one, 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, 4 point, and it goes on like this. Now what is happening is if let's say I'm using this shortest job first and I got a job, let's say it was requiring 5 units, because at 0 point of time I was not having anything else, so I started executing it. Now I got one which just requires 1 unit of time, but since I've started the first one, I will complete it first in the case of shortest job first, and then only I'll move to the next one. But in the case of shortest remaining time first, what happens? After every time after every unit of time, it is going to check whether any other process that is shorter than this one has arrived. If it is the case, in that case what is going to happen? In that case it is going to stop the execution of this 5, that means P1, and it is going to move to the P2. So this is how it goes on. Okay, so I hope you all have solved it correctly. So this is about the shortest remaining time first. That is how we solve it. We have to check after every unit of time whether a process which requires lesser unit of time has arrived or not. If yes, you pick that process, you keep processing, you just start the processing of that new process that was arrived. Otherwise, if the process that you are currently in that requires lesser unit of time, so you are going to continue with that. Okay. Now one more thing is that what if this 4 was arrived at this moment? So if 4 was the one that arrived, what you would have done, you would have continued doing 5 first, P1. Why is it so? Because from 0 to 1 you completed 1 unit of execution. So now it also requires 4 unit of time only. So that means it is requiring equal. So it is not something that has a smaller process. We won't consider it, because now P1 is also 4. So that is how we solve the shortest remaining time first problem, by drawing the Gantt chart. Okay. So you have to draw the Gantt chart. For that we have seen how we make the Gantt chart, and with that you solve it. All right. Now the next one was round robin. So what is it? Round robin is basically the one where we give a fixed time quanta to every process. Like let's say the time quanta must have been given in the question. So if I say 5 is the quanta, so what I have to do, I have to give 5 units of time to every process, and does not matter whether or not this process has completed its execution, you have to skip to the next one, you have to jump to the next one as soon as this time limit of 5 completes. So this is how we move on in the case of round robin scheduling. So I hope you all have solved this numerical perfectly. Now there was a question that was based on weak entity. So what do we know about weak entity? So in the DBMS subject we have seen that if there is an entity where the whatever the attributes of this entity are, they are not sufficient to uniquely identify this entity. So that means if I'm having a table, in that nothing is in such a way, like see, if I have a table in that I have name, I have another column that is, let's say this name is there, one attribute is name, another is, let's say, favorite sport, another is what, another is a city, and another one is, let's say, any other such thing which is not always unique. So subject, so subject or department. Now you can see that none of these things are in such a way that they can uniquely identify this table. So this is one such thing which we can call as the weak entity. So weak entity is the entity that cannot be uniquely identified by its own attributes alone. So it must use any sort of foreign key in conjunction with, along with the attributes that it is having, in order to create the primary key. What is primary key? It is unique and not null. Okay, so in order to create a primary key, the weak entity, the table that is having a weak entity, they must create a foreign key. They must use a foreign key in conjunction with the attribute that it is having in order to create the primary key. Okay, so the former, this whatever foreign key you are using, it is typically a primary key of an entity it is related to. So in that way you can make sure to create a primary key, but they do not have a primary key on their own. Okay, so that is why we call it a weak entity. All right, I hope you are clear with this. Okay, now let's see what is the next one. So the next one is, out of 4, which one are considered as the private IP? So the question was regarding private IP. So for this, what you need to know, you need to be aware of the range that was there, the range of the private IP that is there. So since we do not have the option, we cannot say that what were the right answer for this question, but the private IP range, if you are aware of, so you will be able to answer it correctly. So we are aware that for class A, if I am talking about, so for class A it is 10.0.0.0 to 10.255.255.255. Okay, and if it is class B, what is it? Class B is 172.16.0.0 to 172.31.255.255. Then for class C, what was it? So class C, it was 192.168.0.0 to 192.168.255.255. Now, since we do not have the option, so we cannot comment on what was the right answer, but you had to match with the range that you are aware of that are there for the private IP. Okay, so that you have to see from the options. So if you remember the options, comment here so we can answer it in the comment section. So for all of you, if you remember any of the question, if there is a question which needs to be modified, or let's say if there is a question for which options you remember, so you can put it in the comment section so that we can answer there, that what must be the right answer to that question. So any question that you are not able to find the right answer, comment it here. We make sure to answer it correctly in the comment section. Okay, so let's start the next question. The next question was about the control panel. So since in this question as well, the total informations are not given that what exactly it was, so we cannot say what was the answer, but it was related to control panel. All right, now let's see the next one. So there was a question on the UML diagram as well. So UML diagram is a very important one. What is it? It is a unified modeling language. So if you are appearing for IT officer exam, you must be aware of these diagrams. They are very important, the class diagram, UML diagram, and the various diagrams that are there. So sequence diagram, everything you should be aware of. So what is it? This UML is a general purpose developmental modeling language. And whenever you are studying the software engineering, we definitely go through it. Okay. So what is the purpose? It is just to standardize, or you can say it is to provide a standard way to visualize the design of the system. Okay, so that is about this. Now here we have the class diagram, object diagram, component diagram, deployment diagram, use case diagram, sequence diagram, collaboration diagram, state chart diagram. All these diagrams are there in the UML. So I hope that you have answered the question about UML correctly. Now, the next one was, which device breaks the broadcast domain out of switch, bridge, hub, and repeater? This was the next question for you. Another option was there. So the next option was router. So it should be here, router. So out of all these options, which is there, which device breaks the broadcast domain? So the right answer was router itself. So router is the one that breaks the broadcast domain, and it also breaks the collision domain. Okay, so it is we also call it as broadcast domain separator and the collision domain separator. So apart from this, what else is there? So VLANs are there that breaks up the broadcast domain, and there is a router as well that breaks the broadcast domain. So these are the right answers. So since the networking device like the router, switch, bridge, hub, repeater were given, so the right answer from these were router that breaks up the broadcast domain. Okay. So all right, now who creates these broadcast domains? So switch, the ones who got confused between switch and router, see, switches create the broadcast domain, and the router and VLAN, they break up the broadcast domain. Okay, so I hope we are clear till this point. Let's move to the next one now. Then there was a question regarding the tag in HTML. So that complete question is not there, but it was relating to a tag that is there in the HTML. So that was the question. So if you are appearing for the exam in the next attempt, you can prepare about all the HTML tags that are there, important ones that are there. So that is going to help you for the exam. All right, now let's move on to the next question. So there was a question related to Oracle in exam. Okay, and the next one, the tag that is used for the external CSS. Okay, so for external CSS, which tag is used? That was asked in the question. So what do you think should be the right answer? You keep on commenting your answers as well, because we really want to see your answers here, and we want to know that how much you have answered correctly in the exam. So the tag that is there is the link tag. For external CSS, this link tag is used to link the external style sheets, or if we want to add some favicon to our website. So this link element, it is basically an empty element that is there. Empty element. And it contains just the attribute. So I hope you all have answered it correctly. Link tag is the right answer to this question. Okay, now let's move on to the next question. So there was a question on the quadrature amplitude modulation. So the whole complete question is not there with us for this one. If you remember the question, please put it in the comment section, so that we can know what were the options and what all the options were, and I'll be telling you the right answer to this question. So this QAM, or the quadrature amplitude modulation, what is it? It is just a method for what? For combining two amplitude modulation signals into a single channel. Okay, so whenever we want to double the effective bandwidth, this method is used. Okay, and also with the pulse the amplitude modulation, for that as well it is used in the digital systems. So for any sort of wireless applications it is used. Okay, so this QAM signal, it comes with two carriers. So these are the information that you need to know about the about this quadrature amplitude modulation. Now, if you put in the question, the complete question and the options that were there, I'll be telling you the right answer to that in the comment section. Okay, so that's it. Then let's move to the next question. Then there was a question related to the unsupervised learning. So we have discussed it a number of times in the lectures. What is this unsupervised learning? So it is basically the use of artificial intelligence algorithms that are there, AI algorithms, for what? For identifying the patterns in the data set containing data points that are neither classified nor labeled. So it is for the non-labeled data, or you can say non-classified as well. So non-classified as well as the non-labeled data is the one. So one of the previous question were also there. In that they asked that which of the following is the one that deals with the unlabeled data or non-labeled data, non-classified data. So the right answer was unsupervised learning. Okay, so what it does is it allows the system to identify the patterns within the data set on its own without, see, if I give all the labeled information and everything is there, so that is the supervised learning. But here nothing is given. The system is going to identify the pattern, it is going to identify what kind of data is there, and it is going to find all these patterns and everything on its own. Okay, so that is what the supervised learning, it is unsupervised learning is. Okay, so the keywords that you must remember about this is non-classified, non-labeled. Okay, what are the examples? So if we look at the hierarchical clustering or k-means clustering, principal component analysis, these all are the ones that are there, the algorithms of unsupervised learning. Okay, now let's move to the next question. The next one is about the type of testing that is used to detect the bugs in newly made changes. So I hope all of you answered this question correctly. So the right answer to this question is here. The one sanity testing was the option, and that is the right answer to this question. That is sanity testing. You keep on writing your answers, what all you have answered correctly. So that is going to be an interactive one. We can, if there is something that, let's say, you were not able to answer correctly, so we can discuss on that. And if there is something that for any other particular question there were more than one options that looked similar, anything like that, so write it in the comment section so that I can correct you if you are doing it incorrectly or if you have done it incorrectly in the exam. Okay. And if you're not sure about any particular question, that also you can tell in the comment section, so we can discuss on that as well. Now, there was a question on Python list. So, since we do not have the question, I would request you all to please write down the question if you are having it. So, if you write the question in the comment section, I'm going to give you the solution to that. Okay. So, Python list, a question was there. What exactly the question was, that we are not aware of. So, please write it in the comment section if you are aware of the question. Now, the function that is used to find the length of string in PHP was the next question. So as we have studied that there is an inbuilt function, the built-in function that is there, strlen in PHP for your finding the length of the string. So this strlen, it is going to return the length of whatever string you give as an input. Okay, so it takes the string as a parameter and it returns the length of the string. All right, so this is what? This is a kind of built-in function. All right, now let's move to the next one. So then the next question was about the minimum key length of your AES. So this is a typing mistake, I guess. It is off. Okay, so minimum key length of the AES that was asked. So what is the right answer to this question? So the right answer to the key length in the AES is, see, we are aware that key length in AES can be of three kinds. So what is it? 128, 192 or 256. Okay, so these are the ones that are there. So the longest allowed is 256 and the minimum is what? 128. So I hope that you all have answered it correctly. And if you are having any doubts regarding the question, you can post it in the comment section. Okay, now let's see what is the next one. So this is the minimum one. 128 is the minimum for AES. And what is this AES? AES is our advanced encryption standard. All right, now let's see what is the next one. So you should remember these three key lengths. It's very important even for the upcoming exams, even for the interview, everything. You must remember this. Now there was an output question, code that was there. For loop was there basically in a code. So that was given to you and you had to find out the output for that. So output for that one, because we are not having the options and the code currently, so we cannot comment on the answer. But if you remember anything, you can tell us about that. So instead of integer, the loop variable was character. Okay, so based on that, so that also kind of confused some of the aspirants, that if it is character, what should it be? So that was also a thing. But if you remember the right question, whatever the piece of code was, you can write it in the comment section. I'm going to provide you with the right answer. Now, there was a Java code with the ceil and floor functions on negative floating point numbers. So since here as well the right options that were given are not available, So that is why we do not know what the exact answer was. If you remember the options that were there, so you can tell us and we can tell you the right answer. Okay, so there was something, I think some negative minus 90.6 or something like that was given, but as the exact question is not known to us, so that is why we cannot comment on the answer. Please write it in the comment section if you remember the exact question for the floating point numbers. Now there was another one. So the next one was, what is removing SSL is called? So this question was basically about the SSL offloading. So if you have studied about SSL offloading, you would be able to answer this question correctly. What is it? So it is the process of removing the SSL based encryption from incoming traffic that a web server receives to relieve it from the decryption of data. So whenever we are aware of these secured socket layer protocols, what we do in the case of SSL, so we have talked about SSL in much detail in the lectures. So it is basically a security standard. Why is it there? So in order to ensure or to establish an encrypted link between a server and a client. Okay, so for that, if I say that if I am removing the SSL, removing SSL, what is it? It is called as the SSL offloading. So that keyword, if you have heard of ever, so I'm sure you would have answered it correctly. If not, no problem, it's okay. But from now, I hope that you will remember that what is this SSL offloading. Okay, so now let's move to the next one. Minimum and maximum length of TCP header was asked. Okay, so we all are aware that TCP header, the minimum length is what? 20 bytes and maximum is 60 bytes. So that was the answer. The minimum is 20 and maximum is 60. Okay, so I really hope all of you have answered it correctly because it was an important one, and I really hope that you all marked it correctly. Now let's see what is the next question. So the Ethernet can be described on which layer? This was the next question that was asked. So see, Ethernet, it is basically a layer 2 protocol. So the data link layer was the right answer to this question. So I hope you all have answered it correctly. If the options were having layer 1, layer 2, such options, so in that case you would have chosen layer 2. And if the options were by the data link layer, network layer, physical layer, so you should have answered this is a data link layer protocol. Okay, so all right, now what else is there? So let's move to the next question now. This is the next one. So there was a question that was based on the differences that are there between UDP and TCP. So UDP versus TCP, we are aware it is one of the most important questions. So if you are preparing for any IT officer exam, you must be aware of what are the differences between UDP and TCP. So we are aware that TCP is a connection oriented protocol and this one is connectionless. Okay, and what else do we know about it? So we know that UDP is faster because it does not wait for a established connection. See, it is connectionless. So in the case of TCP, what is happening? It is going to wait for the acknowledgement if the packet is properly received or not. If there is an error, it is going to retransmit it. If there is no error, it is going to acknowledge that it has received the acknowledgement. Everything is going to happen. So there is a handshake that happens in the case of TCP. But no such thing is there in the case of UDP, and that is the reason why UDP is faster but less reliable. UDP is less reliable and TCP is more reliable. So UDP also we call it non-reliable, unreliable protocol. Okay, so because in the case of, let's say, if there is a data loss that is happening, it is going to see, UDP, since it is very fast, it is very simple, it is very efficient, but the retransmission of the lost data packet is only possible in the case of TCP. UDP is not even waiting for the acknowledgement whether the packet has been received or not. So that is the thing with the UDP, and that is why we call it unreliable. Okay, so these things are there in the TCP versus UDP. Now, which of the following is not a CPU scheduling algorithm? It was an extremely easy one. We all are aware that what are the CPU scheduling algorithm. Okay, so we are aware the first come first serve algorithm is there. This FCFS is there, right? First come first serve. Then what next is there? Shortest job first. Then preemptive version of shortest job first is SRTF, shortest remaining time first. What else? Priority scheduling are there. Then round robin is there. What else? Multi-level queue scheduling is also there. Okay, so these things are there. These algorithms are the CPU scheduling algorithm. I am sure that you all have answered this question correctly. Okay, so these are the scheduling algorithms that are there, CPU scheduling, and the one that was odd one out, you had to eliminate it. So whatever option was apart from anything apart from these options, you had to mark it as the right answer. Now, there was a question on inheritance. So we are aware of the object-oriented programming concepts that are there. So the inheritance in that is what? Inheritance, when I talk about it in the C++ or any other C, basically it is about the ability of a class to derive from some of the characteristics from another class. So the best example is the parent and child. So we get some features from our parents directly, right? So if the same is the case with the classes. So in order to avoid the, you can say, redundancy and unnecessarily writing the same thing again and again, let's say if I have already created a class that is named as addition, and now I'm creating a class calculator. So instead of writing the addition program again, I would simply write class calculator extends addition. So I can simply extend. Extends is the keyword that is used to for the purpose of inheritance. So I can directly extend that class. I can directly inherit from that class. So the one that the class that is inheriting, this is the derived class, and the class from which it is inheriting, that is the base class. So for base class we also have a term parent class. For derived class we have the term child class. So these things are there with us. Okay, one more term is there. The derived class, we also call as the subclass, and the base class, what we also call it as superclass. So whatever the question was, I hope that you have answered it correctly. One question was also there that was asking you to choose the right option. So the options were the base class is called as I think that question was something like this. The base class is also called as the parent class, something like that. So I hope you all have answered it correctly. Okay. Now, so the options, I know the options for that question were the parent class is the base class. Is it true or not? Yes, it is true. The child class is derived class. That is also true. Protected members can be accessed by the child class. That was also true. But the private members can be accessed by the child class. This was the one that was incorrect. Okay. So that question also we are having in the coming slides. Don't worry. Okay, then there was a question on Hadoop. Since we do not know the exact question, you can write it in the comment section if you remember what was the question. Okay, now there was a Linux command. The question was Linux command that gives us the information on the processes running. So this ps command is there. So it is there in Linux, that is there to display the information about all the running processes. So the right answer was ps command. Okay. So I hope that you have answered it correctly. All right. So what else do we need to know about this? And this is, see, whatever information is running, let's say, see, why do we call it PS? This is what? This is the process status command. So I hope from the name itself you would have derived. If you are not aware of the answer, you would have marked it correctly by looking at the name itself. So I want to know about the process status, the running processes. So PS is for process status. So that is the one that is used in the Linux in order to view the information relating to the processes on a system that are running. Okay. All right. I hope everyone answered it correctly. Now the next one is about the complexity of algorithms. So something was asked about the omega notation. So I hope that you have answered that as well correctly. So that question, so if you remember the exact option, so you can tell us about that. Otherwise we can just move on with this. So if I talk about the question on omega notation, so as per the information that I've got, it was relating to the omega notation. So as per this omega notation, if I talk about, it is what? It is the lower bound. So that was asked. I as per the information that is received, it was asked that is it telling the lower bound or upper bound, or what kind of thing it represents. So whatever the running time of an algorithm is, for that the lower bound is represented by the omega. So I hope you all have answered it correctly. Okay, now let's move on to the next question. And how do we denote it? We denote it by this notation. Okay. All right. So I hope we have answered it correctly. Now, there was some basic question on graph. Exact question is not known to us, but it was very basic. And I hope that for the ones who have studied the basics of the graph, you would have answered it correctly. So that was an easy one. Then this conversion was there. So I have told you about it. This postfix conversion, I have already discussed it in the one of the previous question. So I hope that you have seen it from there, that how do we solve it. So basically we had to do it in the thing that is written to us was there in the prefix. Infix was written to us, and we had to do it in the postfix. Okay, so that is the one that we had to do. So I hope that you all have solved it correctly. All right, so if you're having any doubt, you can rewind the video and see the solution that I have given you in the previous slides. So we have discussed it, I think, in the initial ones. Let's see. Yes, so this was the one. So this is the right answer for your question. So that is what? ABC, then multiply, then E, then divide, then plus, then F, and then minus. So I'll write it here as well for you so that you don't get confused while checking your answers. So if you want to solve it again, you can solve it and see if the right answer, whatever I'm writing it here, are you able to come up to this answer or not. So the right answer, the postfix conversion, is what? ABC. Then after that what? Multiply, E, divide, plus, F, and minus. Okay, so these things were there. All right, so this is the right answer for the postfix conversion. Please check your answer if you are able to answer it correctly. Let's see the next one. So the question that I've told you earlier, the one about the sanity testing, that question was there. Okay, so that question basically it told you about some of the features, and it asked you that which of the following is the testing. So they gave you some options like the reinforcement testing, some other things were also there. So what is this sanity test? It is the one where it basically evaluate whether a claim or result of a calculation can be true or not. Okay, so it just checks that. So it is basically a subset of regression testing. So in option, some people were looking for the regression testing, but it was not given. So what is happening here? Sanity testing basically just a subset of regression testing, and for the ones who were looking for the answer as the regression testing, so the sanity testing is just a subset of that only. Okay. All right. Now, whenever you receive a software build, sanity testing is performed. Why is it performed? To ensure that the code changes that were introduced, they are working as per the expectation. So the question was something like this only, that whatever the changes are introduced, which type of testing is used in order to check whether they are working fine or not. So the right answer to this question was sanity testing. That is the one that is used to find out whether the changes that you have introduced recently, they are working fine or not. Then WLAN standard, some question was there, but since we do not have the exact options for this question, we cannot comment on the answer. But if it was regarding which of the following is not one of the specifications, so we should be aware that there are 4 specifications in the family of this see, in the standard we have 4 specification: 802.11, 802.11a, 802.11b, and 802.11g. So if the question was which of the following is not one of the members, so apart from these, the one that is the next option, that would be the right answer. But since we are not aware of what the exact question was, so you can let us know the question in the comment section and we can see what is the right answer there. Okay, so these all of the ones that I've told you about, all of it use the Ethernet protocol and the CSMA CA protocol. Okay, so what is this? Carrier sense, multiple access and collision avoidance instead of CSMA CD for path sharing. So this is what it use. So if you have the options, please write it in the comment section. Now the next one is root node in the red black tree is of which color? So it is black. It is always black. The root node is always black in the red black tree. So you can check whether you have answered it correctly or not. It is the right answer. Okay, so all right, let's move to the next one. And one more thing is there about this red black tree we want to revise if we are preparing for the coming exam. So it is what? It is a self-balancing binary search tree, right? So every here it is colored, the way we represent it is in the form of red and black. So there is an extra bit as well here, and that extra bit, every node is having this extra bit that is going to represent what color it is. So always the roots are of black color and it keeps on alternating in the next level wise it alternates. Okay, now which of the following is not true? This is the question I was talking about. So this was also one of the questions that were asked. So parent class is the base class. It is true. I have told you about it. Parent class is also called as the base class. It is also called as the super class. What else? So it is also called as the base class, parent class and super class. Okay. What about the child class? So child class is known as the derived class. That is also right. Derived class, child class, and what else? Subclass. Okay. Then protected members can be accessed by the child class. This is also true. So this is the difference basically between the protected and the private members. Private members can be accessed by the child class. This is incorrect because private members can be accessed just by that particular class and friend function if it is there. So basically if in general if they are asking, so it is just accessed by that particular class. Okay, so that is the thing, that is the major difference between these things. So see, the main thing between these protected and the private is the class members that are declared as protected, they are inaccessible outside the class, but it can be accessed by any of the child class, and private members cannot be inherited at all. So that is why there is no question of child class in the case of private member. So just mark it as the right answer. Now, which of the following is correct in the C++? So the declaration of the variable, it was asked. So one thing you should know about the variable name rule that are in the C++ language. So see, we are aware that they can contain anything like the variable, letters, numbers, everything can be there, no problem. But the thing is, you cannot have space here. So here it was a space. So that is the reason why it is an incorrect option, because it cannot start with a space. What are the other rules that are there? So the variable name that are there, they can range from 1 to 155 character, 1 to 255 characters. What else? So they must begin with a letter, alphabet, or a underscore. Okay. So this is the next rule: letter, alphabet. See, this is alphabet, yes, right? So alphabet, or it can even start with an underscore, but it cannot start with any such thing like space. So that is the reason why this option is incorrect. It should be either the letter or we can say underscore, nothing else. Okay, alphabet or underscore. All right, so I hope you are clear with this. The next question was about this one. So you had to write the ascending priority of the these things: not, multiplication, logical, and logical OR. Okay. All right, now let's see what should be the priority. See, we know that logical and this logical not, whatever is there, not is of highest priority. After that, so I'm just writing the priority, the highest priority to lowest, then we will convert it into ascending order. So let's see what is the highest priority. So the one that gets the highest precedence, the highest priority is what? The highest priority is by this not. So not is there. After that, what is there? So after that, we have the arithmetic multiplication. After that, we have the logical and after that, we have the logical OR. Now, since they have asked, this is the descending order, highest to lowest, but they have asked in ascending order, so it will be logical OR, logical and, multiplication, and not. So this is the right answer to this question. I hope all of you have answered it correctly. Some people get confused here, but please note this is the correct order. Okay. Then the question was, what is the size of short in Java? So that is what? 2. So the size of short is 2. So I hope this was an easy one. Okay. So 2 bytes is the size of short in the case of Java. All right. Okay. So it can store any numbers, whole numbers from what? The ranges is minus 32768 to 32767. All right. This was the next question. So which RAID type don't use the parity for the data protection? So the right answer is RAID 0. So we also call it as stripe set or stripped volume. Splits, stripes data evenly. What it is doing, it is splitting these data evenly across 2 or more disks without parity information, redundancy or fault tolerance. So this is about the RAID 0. Okay, and this is the one that do not use the parity for data protection. Okay, without the parity it is doing this. All right. Now, what we give during the authentication, biometric PIN or password? So the right answer to this question is password. One more question was there. See, we are aware that something we have and something we know. This is what when we use two-factor authentication. So something we have, something we know, that is we take into account. So a combination of such factors helps us to make the whatever site is more secure. Okay. So something you have is what? See, something you know is your password. Something you have is your mobile for OTP, right? Or let's say for if the option was there of OTP, you would have selected that. Or PIN is also, it is possible that for OTP it is written as PIN. So the thing is, if the question was what is the thing that you know during the authentication, that is your password. Okay, what is the thing that you have, that is your OTP. Okay, so that's a combination. The two-factor authentication, that is what? That is a combination of something you know, something you have. Okay. Now, which code differ by exactly 1 bit? So, two options were JAIIB code and algebraic code, and the other options were also there. So, the right answer to this question is JAIIB code. Okay. So, some people answered it incorrectly as well. So, it's okay. It happens. Here, what happens? This JAIIB code, everything is whatever thing that is written. So, the case with JAIIB code is, let's see here, I'll just give you an example. So let's say if something is written in binary, so in binary, if something is there, let's see, in binary, if I want to write 1, I would write 0 0 1, and for 2 I would write 0 1 0. In JAIIB code, what I do, 1 is represented by 0 0 1, just like the previous one, but here the 2 that is there, that is represented by 0 1 1. Okay, so we need to change just 1 bit, and that is why we do in this way. So when we are incrementing the value from 1 to 2, it requires just changing 1 bit, and if everything is differing just by 1 bit, that is what JAIIB code. So that is a distinguishing feature of the JAIIB code, and that is why this is the right answer. Okay, so I hope you have answered it correctly. Okay, so what all authentication header in IP security provides? So the options that were given were integrity, authentication, encryption, and confidentiality. So see, data integrity, data origin authentication, these things are provided, but the confidentiality is not provided by this. So the right answer to this question should be integrity is provided, authentication is provided. So both integrity and authentication, these two should be the right answer. Okay, so that is what happens in the case of this header in IPsec. Neither confidentiality nor the encryption, these two things should not be there. Okay. Alright, I hope you all have answered it correctly. Then there was a question that was about passive attack. So we are aware that passive attack are the ones where you are just eavesdropping kind of situation. So that means you are listening to something, but you are not making any changes. So message change, see, which is a passive attack out of all of these, it was asked. Okay, so the right answer to this question should be, the right answer is message transfer. So here I think some typing mistake is there. Kindly ignore. This is message transfer. See, why is it so? I have told you about it. What are the active attacks? When something is getting changed, alteration is done. So in the case of any sort of alteration, modification of data, or if you're creating some new data, false statement, anything like that, that is what we call as the active attack. So as we are aware that masquerade is a active attack. Why is it so? So when I am pretending to be someone else, okay, so here in this way I am actually doing an active attack. So if pretending to be somewhere else, I can even do something, make some changes on behalf of that person as well, right? So this is considered as you can say active. So what is an example? Let's say I someone stole my password. They are acting on my behalf, so they are going to make some changes on my behalf as well, okay? So for that this masquerade is what? It is an active attack, so it cannot be the right answer. Message transfer does not require any you can say modifications, right? So that is like eavesdropping only, so that is a passive attack. Message change, any modification that is done in the message, that is an active attack. And this replay is also an active attack. Why is it so? Let's say if I what basically happens in the case of replay. So here I'm passively capturing some message. That means if two people are talking, let's say there was a conversation between person A and person his bank. I heard person A talking to the bank regarding some sort of, let's say, insurance product or something like that. Now I am aware that this person is interested in buying a insurance policy. I am aware of some of the account details. It's possible that he may have taken a few steps towards it also. So I will be listening to all the things that he's saying to that bank. Okay, now this person C who is replaying, what he can do? Passively he collected the information. After that he can call A, tell him his some ID and some of the crucial details regarding his policy, and he can say that sir, immediately we want you to let's say pay 50,000 rupees. I'm sharing the link with you, and in this way you're going to get some extra you can say advantage from this policy. So you're going to we are just offering it to some special customers, so you're going to get some advantages with that. So in this way what is going to happen? There is a you can say authorized effect. Why? Because I have eavesdropped. So that was passively I collected the information. Now as active attack I am making the changes. Okay, so what is this? Here I am saving the copy of whatever the data originally presented was, and now I am using it for something else. Okay, so this is what it is. It is a active attack only. So the only option where there is no change, this is message transfer. So that should be the right answer to this question. Okay. All right. Now one more question was there between OR and XNOR. So actually the thing was, the question was out of all the following. So the options were AND, XOR, XNOR, or. So something like this were the options. One more option was there. So what is happening here? See, you have to tell that in which case when both input is 1, the result is going to be 1. So we are aware that in OR case, in this the truth table of OR, what happens? X by, okay, 0 0, result will be 0, 0 1 1, 1 0 1, and 1 1 1. So that is what is going to happen here. So if both the results are 1, OR is definitely 1. So this is true for sure. Then for the XNOR, let's draw the truth table of XNOR as well. So X, Y and result. So let's say 0 0, I'll write all the cases 0 1 1 0 1 1. Now when it is 0 0, so whenever both the inputs are same, the case with XNOR is whenever both the inputs are same, the output is going to be same. Okay, So for both 0, it is going to be 1. For both different, like 0 1, it is 0, 1 0, it is 0, and when 1 1, both are same, it is going to be 1. So since both the inputs are 1, XNOR is also going to be 1. So the right answer to this question was OR and XNOR. Some other options were also there, but AND, see, I think the AND was not in the option at all. The options were apart from this. So in the case of XOR, we are aware that both the inputs should be different in order for the output to be high. So AND was not in the option, and the other options were there. So the right answer to this question was OR and XNOR. I hope you all have answered it correctly. Then there was a question which was asking 127.0.0.1 in IPv6. What is it? See, so as we are aware that this this 127.0.0.1, this is basically used for IPv4 loopback traffic. So when we are doing it for IPv6, so only a single address for loopback is assigned, and what is it? It is going to be in this way. And we are aware that semicolon notation is used for the IPv6 and dot notation is there for IPv4. So in this question, the right answer would be what? The right answer is going to be colon, and 1. So that is what is going to be the right answer here. So you all must check whether you have answered it correctly or not. So it is just the address for loopback. Okay. All right. Then the next one was related to the data transmitted over the internet connection. Some question was there. So the right answer to the question was bandwidth. Some other options were also there like throughput and other options were there, but the right answer to that question was bandwidth. Okay. Then there was a question that trial and error learning in the artificial intelligence is which of the following. So 3 options I'm having with me. So one is supervised learning, then there was unsupervised learning, and then there was this reinforcement learning. Okay, so the right answer to this question is reinforcement learning. Why is it so? Because it is basically the one which takes into account the feedback. So trial and error, the closest to what we are asking, whatever was asked in the question is this one. Why is it so? It is going to take the feedbacks and then it is going to correct itself according to that. Okay, so that is about this one. I hope that you got the right answer. You have answered it correctly in the exam as well. Okay, so the reinforcement learning is the one that is closest option for us to answer here. What it do is, it is basically a feedback based learning. That is there. What happens here? The agent learns to behave in an environment by performing the actions and seeing the results of the action. It is going to take that to result, that whatever the output was, it is going to take that feedback and it is going to use it for getting positive results for later on. Okay, so for each bad action, the agent is going to get the negative feedback or penalty. For each good action, the agent is going to get the positive feedback. So with this feedback, it is going to learn. Okay, so this is how the reinforcement learning works. So this also can be named as trial and error learning in artificial intelligence. I hope all of you answered correctly. Then there was a question on UML diagram regarding some message passing. So that was there. And there was another question that was IEEE standard 802.2. It is in which layer of OSI model? So the right answer to this question was data link layer. So the original name was ISO IEC 8802 standard, and it basically defined the logical link control layer. We are aware that it is a part of LLC, is a part of what? Our data link layer, right? We have MAC and LLC. Media access control and logical link control. So This is the one. So it defines the logical link control as the upper portion of the data link layer of OSI model. So this is related to the layer 2, or you can say the data link layer. Then data roll up. A question was there regarding data roll up. So what is it? It is basically whenever the data is given to us, that you are summarizing. So that is what the data roll up is. So before any raw data is purged, the minimum, maximum, average are calculated, and they are going to be preserved in several ways. And hourly data is term that is given to the data that is summarized or rolled up every hour. Okay. So that is what the data roll up is. That was also asked in the exam. So, and there was another question that was regarding the list in Python. So we do not know the exact question. If you are aware, you can write it in the comment section. Then there was a question about the read string in PHP. Okay. So that question was also there. So what kind of function is used here? So read string function is the one here. I'll just write it down for you. Since there are multiple functions that are there for string manipulation, so it depends on the options that you were having. But if you want to find the string for the first occurrence, so we use what? We use the str function. Okay. And there are various functions basically for string manipulation. So if you can tell me the exact options that were there, we can tell you the right answer, that which one is used to read the string. Okay. So that I'll just tell you, as you can give the options in the comment section. All right. Okay. So but if you were having an option that was like str, that is the one that is there. Then if you have to read a line, so there is a read line function as well. So that is also a built-in function in PHP that is there to read the console input, whatever is there. So if the option read line was present, that is the right answer. Okay. All right. So I hope that you are able to recall it. If you know that if the options were different, so you can tell me in the comment section. Since there are so many functions there to manipulate the string in the case of PHP, so you just tell me the right the options that were there, but mostly the answer should be read line only. Okay. So if you had the option of read line, that is the one, that is the right answer for you. Okay. All right. Now there was a question that which normal form has the transitive dependency. So one thing that we should be aware of, see, most of the aspirants, what they did, they take that 3NF is having the transitive dependency, but the fact was the third normal form is based on the concept of the transitive dependency. How? If you have to be in the third normal form, you have to be in 2NF plus free of transitive dependency. So that means there is definitely transitive there is definitely no transitive dependency in the case of 3NF. So the right answer should be 1NF and 2NF. They can have transitive dependency, but 3NF cannot have transitive dependency. Why we get confused is the reason, see, because of the fact that the term transitive dependency, it was used in this 3NF, but it does not mean that it is having transitive dependency. It means that it strictly avoids the transitive dependencies. You cannot have transitive dependencies if you are let's say if you are in the third normal form, it should be free of the transitive dependency. Okay. So it does not allow any transitive dependency in 3NF. Okay. All right. So there should not be any there should not be any non-prime attribute that is deriving from a see, no non-prime attribute is deriving from a non-prime attribute. So that is the one that happens in the case of 3NF. Okay. So I hope that you have answered this question correctly. So we have seen how the transitive dependency works. So see, partial dependency is also another concept, and transitive dependency. So about transitive dependency we talk in the case of this third normal form, because we want that transitive whenever a non-key attribute is determining another attribute, that is what that should not happen. Okay, so in 3NF we have talked about it in much detail. You can see that lecture if you are getting confused here. Okay, so no transitive dependency should be there. All right, now let's see. So 1NF and 2NF can have, but 3NF cannot have the transitive dependency. All right, so we have pretty much covered everything that was there in the paper. So if you are having any other questions, so I have covered somewhat around 55 to 56 questions. If you are having any other question, so you can post it in the comment section so that we can continue discussion, and I will be answering you in the comment section whatever doubts you are having regarding the exam, whatever let's say you were not able to answer correctly, or if there is something else, or if you are not sure about what should be the right answer of a particular question. So everything you can write it in the comment section, and I'll make sure to answer all your queries. So I wish every one of you all the very best, and for those who have not performed well, please don't get disheartened. You have still a lot of IT officer exams coming up. You have SEBI IT officer exam, you have Nabard IT officer exam that is going to be conducted in this year. Then you have various other IT officer exams as well. So don't get disheartened. You have a plenty of exams. Just keep on studying, keep on practicing. Oliveboard is also having a lot of IT officer courses that are there depending upon what which exam you are appearing in. So you can shoot your queries in the comment section regarding the courses and everything that you want to know. We'll make sure to answer all your doubts, all your queries, and you can enroll yourself in the course where you'll get personalized attention. For the ones who have appeared for the mains exam, if you want to prepare for interview, that also you can let us know in the comment section that you are interested for the interview preparation of ITSO, and we are going to provide you the details of the course. All right, so thank you so much for watching this video. We are going to meet in the interview preparation course mostly. So all the very best. I really hope to see you all in the interview preparation course. Thank you so much. Take care.